So thank you everybody for joining, and let's get started. So very, very quickly about us. We've been making the complex simple since 2011. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we're an award-winning digital marketing agency. We've got three offices in London, St Albans and Cheltenham. Everything you need in one place. We offer digital marketing, website design and development services, employer branding. So for those of you that work on recruitment, marketing, talent acquisition, and also CRM. We are HubSpot Platinum partners and experts at CRM onboarding and implementation, in particular for sales and marketing teams as well. We work with a wide range of clients right the way across the UK and internationally, and a team of experts with in-depth knowledge, one of whom, Luca, I'll be handing over to in a second, is joining me on this morning's call. If you'd like to find out more about any of these areas or some of these core services, don't hesitate to drop me a note and find out more. One of the key things that we need to consider within all of this, and very much where we're moving to in 2026, is search everywhere. Waggator Digital, we are a search everywhere agency. It's about making sure that you're not only visible across all these channels, but that you're generating engagement and ultimately sales or leads through this interconnected ecosystem that we are now existing in. So I'm going to now hand you over to Luca, who's going to intro himself and take you through this morning's session. Cheers, Luca.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Okay, so I am Luca. I'm based in our St Albans office and I'm Waggator's digital and AI marketer. So I've been at Waggator for just over 2 years now, starting as an apprentice and now, of course, digital and AI marketer. I've been driving AI related innovation as well as working across our service portfolio to deliver creative and strategy driven campaigns for clients. If you want to scan that QR code, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like any more info after the session. Of course, I'm conscious that we've only got about half an hour this time, but yeah, we'll stay on after to answer any questions that you've got as well. Okay, so what are we going to be discussing in this webinar? So I'm going to start off by sort of explaining what the search everywhere approach is. Then we're going to go on to what AI will bring to marketing in 2026. So what have we learned about the direction AI has taken discoverability? How has AI impacted consumer behavior and search habits? And where's AI heading in 2026? So I'm going to touch on sort of some new developments such as chat to checkout and AI advertising. And then I'm going to discuss a little bit more about how you can develop more of a practical implementation plan to start becoming more visible on AI tools. Okay, so let's get started. So search everywhere is, as Dan mentioned, it's something that we've sort of been really focusing on here at Waggator, and it's shaping the way that digital strategies will be developed and executed in 2026. So now more than ever before, it's essential for brands to be showing up across a variety of platforms in order to capture and engage target customers across different areas of their discovery process. So where does AI actually fit into all this? So AI models pull from a wide range of platforms and sources to gain understanding and serve users, so such as Reddit, Google, YouTube, and other social platforms, sort of anywhere on the internet, really. And this sort of differs a little bit to what we've known to be true in Google, where a lot of kind of like brand site content is kind of most heavily weighted when you want to be showing up in terms of like SEO and that kind of thing. So what have we learned about AI in marketing in 2025? So we've sort of been thinking about this here at Waggator, and leveraging the power of AI doesn't solely mean using tools to produce an output. So, for tactic delivery and that kind of thing. I sort of think that as marketers, we need to be thinking about how our customers, clients, and prospects are actually using AI themselves to qualify our business or sort of assess products for purchase. And sort of being able to understand and capitalize on that will prove to be advantageous for like overall growth and business success in 2026, because as we know, people using AI search platforms and sort of LLMs have increased over the past sort of, 2-3 years, and now it's becoming just as important to make sure that your brands are coming up in there as well. So in today's session, I'm going to focus on how search habits have evolved and where AI fits into such sort of like an overwhelming and confusing digital landscape. So If you want to scan that resource, we've got sort of an AI search optimization best practice guide, if you like. But how is AI search actually impacting marketing? So, got some metrics here. So, AI-based search traffic has increased by 527% since 2025. 43% of consumers now use AI platforms to find products or services. Brands absent from AI generated answers can lose up to 40% of conversions. And traditional search engine traffic is expected to drop 25% by 2026 due to AI chatbots and other virtual agents. And this is something that I'm going to touch on a little bit more, but YouTube has recently become the most cited source in LLMs. So this is something that you might want to be looking at for your brands and kind of seeing how you can kind of develop a YouTube strategy to increase your visibility. So what will AI bring to marketing in 2026? So I've got three kind of key points here about what AI is sort of bringing to marketing. So first of all, we've got fragmented discovery. So entry points into your brand are no longer linear. So the way that people interact with your brand is no longer solely through the Google homepage. And now people understand and build a view of your brand through the likes of LLMs like ChatGPT, AI overviews, social feeds, UGC recommendations, and even things like Reddit threads and Quora and that kind of thing. The list kind of goes on really. And this fragmentation of discovery means that you need a strong presence across that variety of platforms. Next, so the rise of zero click. So this is something that we've noticed a lot here at Waggadah. And essentially, it used to be very easy to attribute direct return from market and spend and see those analytics in GA4. However, now in 2025 and 2026, nearly 80% of searches that trigger an AI overview result without a click. So that means that people might be understanding and kind of seeing your brand, but they're not actually clicking through to your site because they're getting the answer straight away through AI overviews. So that means essentially, one, you want to be coming up in AI overviews and becoming the answer before a user ever even needs to enter a site. So unfortunately, this is sort of becoming a reality where attribution and concrete understanding is becoming a little bit more difficult due to these fragmented search, fragmented discovery and this rise of zero click, but it doesn't mean that all hope is necessarily lost. So the reality now is that every channel plays its part in the discovery process. So LLM cite data from a variety of external platforms, and making sure you're showing up there too increases the chances that you'll become the answer to someone's query, and you can kind of increase that brand trust and sort of notoriety in your space with people that are like searching up for services or products. So the consumer journey has become far more fluid and hyper-personalized. So things such as ChatGPT, where people might be having a sort of 10, 20 message conversation with an AI LLM, means that what they're getting back is going to be much more personalized. So one, people are much more, become much more intentful, and there's a higher chance of conversion as well. So making sure that we're showing up across all the touch points that people are kind of seeing our brand. So whether that be on social platforms or in LLMs, that will ensure that we're kind of staying top of mind and nurturing those leads effectively. Okay. So the first thing that you need to sort of understand is where AI gathers its information. So knowing this makes sure that you're intentional and strategic with the way that you're showing up on different platforms. So, understanding where your potential customers are on the internet means that you can go on there, optimize, create content, and one, become cited in LLMs, but two, also just being across all of these different areas means that you're more visible. So here I've got a report from SEMrush, which is from October 2025, so it's getting a little bit old now, but this table essentially shows the top cited domains on LLMs by October 2025. So essentially the top websites that are linked within AI responses. So as we can see, Reddit has kind of been dominating this, as well as LinkedIn. We've got other platforms, of course, like Wikipedia, Medium. These are all places that you might want to look at getting your brand involved in, if you're not already. And also, so brand new data from about 3 days ago, on the 26th of January, actually revealed that YouTube has surpassed Reddit in volume of citations. So where YouTube was sort of just below 5%, they're actually now at 16%. So completely overtaken Reddit there. And that's because of the way that LLMs scrape the videos and read transcriptions, which overall, it just sort of further reinforces this idea of search everywhere and why you might want to be showing up on YouTube now, because a lot of AI responses are now coming back with information that have come from YouTube videos. Okay. And then off the back of that, you want to utilize the platforms that are being cited as part of your strategy. So I've got an example here of Reddit. So of course, as it is still one of the highest cited domains. So even though YouTube's taken it over, Reddit is definitely somewhere that you might want to be coming up as a brand. And here I've got a little example of how you might show up as a brand on Reddit. So AI models value Reddit as it reflects real user experiences, discussion-driven insights, and a range of authentic perspectives. So a lot of sort of people that are very invested in industries tend to go onto Reddit and kind of talk about their experiences and that kind of thing. So, of course, as AI models are conversational and offer insight on niche topics, Reddit is like a perfect source for LLMs to pull data from. So, three key areas to consider when looking at Reddit for your brand. So, I think it's very important that you don't just go onto Reddit and kind of just overtly promote yourself, because that is not how the platform works. So here I've got an example of like Reddit strategic sort of framework that they've suggested, which includes the idea of observing where your target market lives on Reddit. So within these small sort of niche communities, and this will allow you to contribute to communities that may actually benefit from your business or services or anything like that. The second bit is to monitor sentiment and pain points. So this information will be powerful both for just your general market understanding, as well as understanding how you can offer value to users as well on the platform. And then third, which arguably is the most important thing for kind of getting your name out there, is to engage with communities authentically and transparently. So this is also the most vital thing to execute right. So Reddit communities are sort of very hyper aware and vigilant of self-promotion. So the key for Reddit is to become like sort of a trusted figure in communities and increase the opportunity of being cited by AI. So this is sort of when you become a thought leader in your industry, and kind of just offering value to people is the most important thing with Reddit. And then off the back of that, you can start gaining that brand trust and nurture those potential leads that are on Reddit, because it's really blown up. The platform's really blown up. Like even just for rankings on search, Reddit is almost always one of the top responses for niche queries. Okay. So where's AI heading in 2026? So of course, I've touched on the idea of chat to checkout and AI advertising. So why are both of these important? So essentially, these are kind of new innovations from OpenAI and Google. And essentially, both of these provide businesses with more tools and opportunities to serve products and services to people who will find them valuable based on context and personalization. So this is something where someone might be in a chat and the LLM is able to understand the intent of someone and serve specific products or advertisements to them. So This also kind of provides us with more control over our potential customers, over what our potential customers see about our brand in ChatGPT and other LLMs. Okay, so I've got a really interesting stat here. So 70% of consumers use generative AI for product recommendations, and 64% would buy based on AI suggestions. So this is from a report by Capgemini. So of course, this isn't 70% of all consumers, but it's the fact that a lot of people would trust AI for recommendations and would buy off the back of that. And that kind of links into this idea of chat to checkout. So it's a developing feature that hasn't actually fully been rolled out by OpenAI and Google, but fundamentally, it's going to change the way that people interact with e-commerce websites. So how it works is businesses can kind of route their products through onto ChatGPT or sort of AI modes and Gemini chats directly. So it allows people to buy products straight from the chat, which provides there's less friction in the consumer journey, so people don't need to move onto your site. They can just purchase it straight away, and it's still kind of attributed to you, and the fulfillment still works through you. But it's kind of the fact that LLMs understand users more because of the way that people interact with them. So this realistically, this will only amplify the lower traffic that we're seeing due to increased AI usage, but it also offers an opportunity for a new kind of avenue in terms of selling products online. Also, you can actually sign up to be involved in this. It's just not been rolled out in the UK yet. So similarly to chat to checkout, AI advertising is also a very new thing, which has only sort of been announced in the past sort of month. And it's being rolled out by OpenAI in the US. And it definitely represents potential for new marketing channels for businesses to offer products or services through paid placements in ChatGPT. And no doubt AI overviews and AI mode will have that as well in the future. And essentially, you'll be able to serve ads for your products or services to the most intentful users within ChatGPT chats. So this is something that we've kind of seen coming for a while. Like, of course, it was going to happen. But it's interesting to know that actually OpenAI are going to be quite transparent with the way that ads are served. So they aren't going to be served like within the answer. They'll be served at the end and very like clearly labeled and that kind of thing. So it does increase the quality of potential leads because they're only going to be served to people that are most intentful and actually want to buy products rather than in the past where it'd just be through Google. Now people can have conversations with LLMs and be served ads off the back of that. So obviously conscious of time here, but so how might you want to develop a practical implementation plan to approach AI in the right way? So I've got just going to quickly speak through a kind of framework that you might want to look at when optimizing for AI and being involved in AI sort of LLMs for your brand. So you might want to start off, you would want to start off by auditing for your current readiness. So understand your current situation, know how visible you currently are on LLMs and where competitors are stronger and where to kind of focus on first, and sort of understanding as well where your consumers are actually sort of using AI tools, because in some industries, your customers might not be using Grok, for example. So it might not be as essential for you to optimize for those LLMs. And then what you want to do is you'd want to implement monitoring tools. So monitor your AI visibility with tracking tools to spot trends and monitor performance. Then optimize content for AI visibility. So look at your current content and optimize for longer tail queries that are more suited for AI searches. Utilize multi-channel tactics. So this is kind of going back to kind of search everywhere idea. So AI sites from a variety of sources, as we know, and this makes sort of deploying multi-channel tactics even more valuable. And then finally, measure and iterate. So just like any other effective marketing strategy, measuring that impact and iterating off the back of those findings will contribute to real impactful growth. And then you can kind of go back and continue measuring and iterating and improving your content. And hopefully you'll be able to see improvements in terms of being cited in the LLMs. So that was everything, just on time, really. If you'd like to understand a little bit more and audit your current readiness, we're actually going to be offering this to you guys that are in the webinar at the moment. So if you want to scan this QR code, we can also send this out in an email after. But we're going to be doing some audits for your businesses. So how are you showing up for key customer pain points? How do you compare to competitors on AI search? And which queries do you need to focus content on? So I can send this over after for you guys, but yeah, obviously conscious of time, we've got just about sort of 10 minutes, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Luca. Yes, we've had a couple of questions come through, so we'll cover those off now if that's okay. One or two have come through privately, and I can see one in the chat. Folks, don't hesitate to drop your notes in the chat if you've got any questions or anything you'd like to quickly discuss. We can go through that with you now. Darren Stevens has said, great session. What tools do you recommend for the audit and then ongoing monitoring? So obviously there's a degree of, well, Luca, do you want to chat through that? I know there's a number of tools as well that we use as an agency that would help give insight into kind of performance and so on and so forth. But you want to chat through the opportunities there a little bit?
Yeah, so there's a number of tools that you can use sort of to start off. There's a lot of companies at the moment that are offering like free quick like visibility checks. So for example, Amplitude is an example, Searchable, SE Ranking. They've all kind of got small like mini auditing tools where you can have a look at like a small sample of prompts, and then you can see whether your brand is actually coming up and being cited. One of the things with sort of AI tracking at the moment is that companies like OpenAI, they're not actually sharing live data. So the idea is you've got to kind of reverse engineer the search process and understand how LLMs are kind of answering queries rather than knowing exactly whether someone has searched something up in ChatGPT, if you know what I mean.
But, yeah. This is it. And then at Waggader Digital, we build whole strategies. So we're working on whole kind of search everywhere strategies now for brands. Feel free to have a chat if you'd like to find out more, where we go into a deeper audit and then into, full competitor analysis and really build out on how to be, more visible across the entire search landscape in this kind of shifting marketplace. Yeah, and then there's a note here, a simple way of assessing your visibility, asking ChatGPT and large language models questions when you would want your company to be cited. So I guess just exploring and having that conversational approach across those channels, right? And seeing where you go with that. You might be surprised. It's really interesting. So I literally was doing a talk on this yesterday, and we were talking around the difference now between the traditional search and being visible on Google, and yes, some fundamentals still stand in terms of traditional SEO and how you're more visible on Google, but then it's as simple as get my website to the top of search, right? So if there's a keyword or a key phrase, you want to be in positions 1 to 3, ideally top, and then you're competitive in that market, and the customer will make their decision based upon research, their own research and investigation on brand websites. The shift now is that obviously that website is so much further down the funnel in terms of touch points. So yes, we typically see that conversion rates are higher, but that's because there's so much conversational search happening first that when somebody then does go through to brand, they're a bit more warmed up and they're in the market. But the difference is between being positions 1 to 3 in Google versus asking ChatGPT or any large language model for kind of recommendations. Who's the best company to go for this? Who would you recommend for this? And you'd be amazed at what it will bring back. And it's about looking at those citations, those mentions. Is my brand mentioned positively? Is there positive citation, not just citation in general? So it's an interesting shift in terms of taking the research away from the customer and the importance of the website still being vitally important, but how it plays into that. So the content in the website feeds these large language models and search tools. Somebody's popped in Wix already reports on AI visibility. Do you think Google Analytics will do the same? Luca, any thoughts in terms of AI visibility across analytics tools?
I believe Google will have more. Well, Google already has insight on.
Mm.
You're able to set up in GA4 like whether people come from LLMs. I think they'll also start doing that with AI mode and that kind of thing. I think one of the biggest things with like OpenAI and like these other LLMs like Claude, the problem is that there's kind of a privacy concern in terms of like the way that people speak with LLMs is almost like quite a personal thing. So I think um, if these companies do start reporting analytics, I think it could potentially change the way that people interact with them.
Yeah.
Um, but I do know that OpenAI has said that they're not going to be reporting like data when it comes to AI advertising. So that would be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's a few other bits and pieces coming through. Somebody's put a comment which is absolutely right. We were talking a little bit about having a play and exploring on these tools and seeing what you get back when you're doing searches. But obviously, the results will be skewed. It's like we say, don't Google yourself because there's kind of you've got your cache and your history. But even more so with large language models, what's interesting is if everybody on this call went away, searched a query themselves, you would get a slightly different response, and some of that would be built upon your own past history, past usage on some of these tools and what you're sharing with large language models. I had an interesting conversation with a member of the team yesterday that used an anecdotal example of it was one of our social experts, and they were talking about how if in your history, obviously your searches perhaps you care about brands that care about the environment and B Corp and you name it, then when you come to do search and look for recommendations, things like that might be taken into effect. So it won't necessarily give you that accurate example. It's only really the tools that will give you that hard data in terms of this is how many times you appeared. Competitor benchmarking is really important with that as well, because then we can look at it, can't we, Luca, up against kind of your top 5 online or your top 10 online competitors and go, this is how much you were cited, this is how much they were cited. And that's often quite a strong comparison in addition to keywords and keyword visibility.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well it's there's like a case of with tracking how you're coming up in AI, it's like very much a thing where you need to view it over a long time period and see whether these, you're being mentioned more in 3 months because you've been creating content that's actually satisfying these queries.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's not necessarily as black and white as SEO has been, where our rankings are quite similar for like most people. So
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting and it's something that is yeah really interesting for
Yeah,
us. So.
we're going to stay on a few minutes, folks, because there's some more questions that are coming flying through. We've got some really lovely positive stuff coming through in the chat here, which is really good, and a couple of questions as well. So, a question, Luca: how much does SEO and PPC affect your AI ranking? So, I guess, yeah, traditional search, but then also any paid ads that you might be doing.
Yeah, so this is something that we kind of know good SEO is going to sort of link to good AI search optimization as well, because at the end of the day, the way that LLMs are pulling information is very similar to the way that Google kind of understands content as well. So it's not a thing where you would necessarily neglect SEO because realistically, the processes are very similar. It's
Yeah,
just, yeah. It,
it's sorry, go on, Luca, go on.
go on.
No, I was just going to just reinforce that and talk a bit about kind of some of those Google updates in the last few years around education, authority, and trust, and that side of
Mm.
things has become equally as important on optimization to then perform well in LLMs. But obviously, what we're seeing is some of those nuanced changes to how you optimize content on your site that large language models typically like more than perhaps Google. For example, statistics, stats around Luke, it might be worth going back to the AI optimization checklist in case anybody wanted to grab that as well, because that can be quite useful. But there's stats around kind of if you've got statistics as a brand that you can add into a blog or a piece of content marketing, we realized that 20% of our customers last year engaged in blah blah blah, things that are useful and binary. Large language models love that. So there's loads of little things that you can do to optimize your content, which sits slightly outside of traditional SEO, but obviously the traditional SEO fundamentals still stand, and ads don't really make a difference, do they, Luca, in terms of what you're doing on the paid ad landscape at the moment? That stands isolated. If you're investing, wouldn't really
Yeah,
impact your AI,
yeah.
the AI side of things. Um, got a question, Darren. Are people using LLMs and saying things like near me or digital agencies in Gloucestershire? Absolutely. So, um, Luca, do you want to chat a bit about that? I guess about conversational search and what that looks like in terms of what people are searching for, and I suppose changing habits and what they're getting from LLMs.
Yeah, so as we know, like the way that people interact with LLMs are very much more conversational, almost as if you're like talking to someone. So um, yeah, it might be things like I'm looking at I'm looking at improve my SEO on my website. Are there any good SEO agencies in my local area? Like it's stuff like that. The way that people are asking questions are much more long tail and niche now in comparison
Yeah,
to before, where like it would be much shorter tail and that kind of thing on Google. And then kind of the difference with LLMs is the fact that it will come back with a response, and then someone might go and ask an extra question, which adds more context, and then um, the answer becomes even more specific. Like it's things like that which
yeah,
has completely changed the way that people search and actually look for services or just anything for that
yeah.
matter.
The decision it's completely shifted the decision making process, hasn't it, from that
Mm,
linear journey to, and interestingly, I think anecdotally you'll find, and this is only going to get more, that people, because they're communicating with these AI tools in a way as if they're communicating with a human, that trust is there. So if ChatGPT told me it's true, it must be true, and I think
mm,
that kind of, if that sort of value of that recommendation is going to be really important. And your off-site tactics, your reviews, your mentions, your backlinking and digital PR has become even more important, which are all, again, SEO tactics, but how that then feeds in so that if people are looking for, I don't know, the best HR consultant in Staffordshire, are the reviews and your all of your kind of online real estate feeding into that picture so that you're recommended top. Whereas maybe on Google, you're only in position 5, but maybe when you come out on a large language model, your position, your top. We're seeing with a lot of B2B brands, a lot more lead gen from across the UK now, whereby they're getting large language model searches from other parts of the country, from Scotland, for example, from Wales, whereby there's specific service requirements, and brands might have perhaps previously covered maybe half of England or a significant region of England, and they're starting to tap into larger opportunities through large language model search when they weren't previously as visible on Google in those areas. So it's interesting how it is creating a wealth of opportunity as well, and it is definitely a shift in search, right, Luca?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Any other final questions that anybody would like to share? Loads of positive feedback in the chat, so I'm really glad that you found it all to be beneficial. We'll send across a copy of the deck. We'll send across the recording. If anything that Lucas shared is of more interest, don't hesitate to give us a shout. As I say, we're doing some really exciting work with brands now, in 2026 and beyond, with regards to the search everywhere landscape and AI in marketing. If you want to find out more as well about AI implementation, so how to kind of amplify content with AI, AI that's baked within tools. Obviously, we've talked more today around the AI search landscape. More than happy, and we might even get some specific webinars and content on that coming up up as well. So yeah, loads of positive feedback in the chat. So thank you again. Have a great rest of the day, a lovely rest of the week. Best of luck in your AI search journey. Let's get you visible on ChatGPT and beyond. Cheers, folks. Have a good one and best of luck. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.